I'm just going to do a simple CPQ concept called cost plus markup pricing and speak to a couple pitfalls that I see clients fall into when it comes to this, and some things to be aware. So, and I don't think the documentation on this is very good. So let me share my screen here. Probably going to be a pretty abrupt transition. You're going to be right in Salesforce looking at a product. So anyway, a high-level overview of cost plus markup pricing. The way that works is, instead of defining a list price that, you know, spits out your net total based on quantity and maybe you discount it up or down, when you have a cost plus markup product configured, you instead have a starting cost and then you apply a markup to it, whether or not that's a percentage or a currency amount, and then that gets multiplied by the quantity to spit out your net total. So this is useful for any business that thinks about their products as a cost plus markup product, right? Where it's not so much the sales price, it's what markup can we apply on top of what this product costs us to sell or produce to get to a net total. So in order to configure that in Salesforce CPQ, you go to the product that you want to turn that on for. I call this cost plus markup product, very simple. And the important field down here is pricing method. So you'll want to change this field. By default, when you create a product in Salesforce, your pricing method will be set to list. That's your standard list-based pricing, you're probably very familiar with. If you change it to cost, what that does then is it makes it so that when you are in your quote line editor adding quote lines or products to your quote, it will calculate that cost plus markup instead of looking at the list price. So first of all, it's important to remember that even if you set up a cost pricing method product, you have to make sure you define a price book entry for this product, or else it simply will not show up when you're trying to add it to your quote. You might think, hey, but it doesn't have a list price. That's fine. It still has to have a price book entry. So if I click add standard price, we can literally make this list price $0. It doesn't matter. It just needs to have a price book entry so that basically Salesforce knows that it should be able to be added to a quote. And then the other thing you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure you create a cost record that's related to this product. So you don't set like a cost as a field on the product, it's a related record. So if I click new, it'll pull up this screen. I could say we have a unit cost of $100 for my cost plus markup product. Now you might be wondering, why do we have this as a record instead of a field on the product? That's simply to allow you to support multiple currencies. So I don't have multi-currency turned on in this dev org, but if I did, you would also have a currency field here where I could say, is this US dollar, Canadian dollar, euros, British pounds, etc. You know, we just have US dollars in this org, so I'll just have one cost record, but that's why you would potentially have multiple cost records. Now, a big gotcha that I think, or a pitfall that clients fall into, is they want to apply multiple costs to a single product. The standard CPQ cost plus markup based pricing does not support multiple costs for the same currency related to the same product. So if you have this cost plus markup product and your business has a labor cost and an overhead cost and some fixed costs, etc., that you think about, you have more than one cost, you'll have to either combine those down into a single unit cost, however you calculate that, or you would have to build something custom to set its cost and maybe combine some costs together, which we can talk a little bit about where you have some flexibility there. A lot of times, though, if you really do have multiple costs related to a product, instead of using this cost pricing method, you'll have to build something custom that you'll layer on top of CPQ. So that's an important limitation to be aware of. It really only supports a single cost tied to a single product. So I've configured this as a cost plus markup product. Let's jump over to a quote here and add it to our quote and see what it looks like. So if I click edit line, this will pull up the quote line editor. Okay, so I'll click Add Products. We're going to find that cost plus markup product. I'm just going to search for it up top once this loads. Let's just do cost. If I do that, it should show up. There it is. Click Select. Okay, so now you'll see there's that product on this line. We can get rid of the list unit price, so it's not even a column on the screen. It's just there in this dev org that has minimal configuration. But you'll see its quantity is one, its unit cost is one. Right now we're spitting up a net total of 100. I could say, hey, let's mark this up by 30%. It'll recalculate, and then you'll see, okay, now its net total is 130. We can make this a quantity of 2. And now its net total is 260. So remember this markup as well. This is marking up your unit cost. And then the quantity is taken into effect to spit out a net total. By default, your unit cost cannot be edited on this screen. But if we jump back to the product, there is a field called Cost Editable. So let's edit this product really quickly here, and we're going to check the box on Cost Editable. And then for this change to take effect, I'm going to have to delete this product. Let's make sure this save, and then go back to Add Products and add it back in. So that CPQ will take that change. So let's search cost. There's that cost plus markup product. We'll add it, and you can see now my unit cost is editable. Now, very rarely have I seen a situation where a company wants to leave the unit cost field open and editable to their sales reps or the people configuring quotes. But the reason why I bring it up is because this is where potentially you could have some automation that's setting this unit cost based on other attributes of the product. So I've seen and I've built solutions where you have this, like I said before, you can only have one cost tied to a product. So you define what's essentially your base cost, and then you can configure some price rules or some other CPQ-based automations to look at attributes of the product. Maybe you have some other attribute drop-down fields that are part of the product. Maybe they're configuration attributes that you fill out as you're configuring a bundle that this product is in. But you can take that data and use it to maybe add or remove costs from this unit cost field, so it's more accurate based off of the specific product or how you've configured it. And in that case, you would make this not editable, but you could have a price rule change this field for you. And what's nice is if we save this and we jump back really quickly here to the quote and go look at this quote line, there are two fields, there's two cost fields on the quote line that are inheriting a value from that cost record that we set up initially. So if we go jump onto this quote line, probably not on the page layout. So let me just show all fields really quickly here. And we type in cost. So this is that cost record relationship that CPQ automatically relates to your quote line. But you'll notice we have a unit cost here. That's what was on that screen that I was editing. And Salesforce will save the original unit cost from this cost record. So you could have some automation edit the unit cost based off of logic that you've defined, and you could compare how much has it changed versus that base unit cost that was defined on the cost record. And then this package cost, this is where if you have a bundle with child quote lines in it that are cost plus markup products, you can see what is their total cost rolled up to that parent product. So that's a basic introduction to how cost plus markup pricing works in Salesforce CPQ. There's some other ways that you can get fancy with it, but that's really the main way that you can configure it and maybe play with or change that unit cost on a quote line by quote line basis.